Hi, I'm Brainerd Carey, and today I want to talk a little bit about the myth of the starving artist and the kind of lies that artists are fed both in school and out of school, and what that means, and perhaps how to change that. So, to begin with, this idea of the starving artist myth, the artist that is struggling for sales, that doesn't make sales, but makes beautiful work and has deep poetic thoughts is the myth, right? That myth is perpetuated in a lot of ways. I give lectures at colleges fairly frequently, and it wasn't long ago I was giving a lecture at a school in New York City, and the dean of the arts program said to me he knows the kind of videos I make, the kind of work I do, the kind of books I write for artists, and he said to me, Brainerd, just so you know, this school is about the conversation of art, not the market of art. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I said, yes, I understand what you're saying. So I gave my talk, and it was about interviewing artists and how other people can interview artists. But everybody that was in the lecture, many of them also knew who I was and began asking me questions about the market, which is how does work get sold? How does work get into museums? How does work get into galleries and more? So, the odd thing here is that what does that mean? When the dean says to me, this school is about the conversation, not the market. That means essentially that art students, young and older art students, are paying upwards of $200,000 for a degree in art, and what they're learning how to do is have a conversation about art, not necessarily to make better art, although hopefully that's part of it, but usually isn't part of it. But it's about how to defend your work, how to talk about your work, and in the end, not about how to sell your work, not about what to do when you get out of college at all. So this is something that's been held over for a while. It's an academic framework, which means that we're only discussing this, we're only talking about this, we're not moving into this in any practical way, which is odd, right? If you went to architecture school, that's not what they'd say. And architects often remain theorists, often remain as kind of artists and never build anything. At least there are some that do that. So architecture could be about the conversation, but you'd never hear a professor or a dean at an architecture school say, this isn't about the market. This isn't about getting a job in an architect studio or becoming that kind of an architect that makes money off building homes or buildings. So, art is in a funny position, right? Academics, which is what I'm talking about, and college help encourage this idea of the starving artist myth, which means that it's only about the work. It has nothing to do with the market. And I think that keeps you down. That doesn't help artists. That doesn't help students. The conversation does indeed help students. It's great to talk about art. It's great to be in a supportive group of artists, for example, at a school. But it's also good to know how to reach a gallery, how to get work out into the world. So, you might be hearing some of these myths come in from other forms, right? I'm talking about it as one of the academic frameworks that they propose, which is, again, it's about the conversation, not the sales. But you see this sometimes in some nonprofits, right? In global biennials around the world, they're largely academic. Exhibitions, which means they are largely about theory, the conversation. However, there are people in biennials who are successful artists, meaning they make a lot of sales off their work and live off their work and have galleries that support them. And there are artists that are in biennials and major shows that are not selling work, but are part of this kind of conversation, so to speak, this global visibility. So, I think what is important about visibility and this myth is that you have the power, right? This is about, your art and your vision and your power. So it doesn't fit into a framework, right? Everybody makes art for different reasons, and everybody's art is different. Nobody is competing the way, say other fields might compete, like architecture. Everybody's art is something different. So, you're making the rules, you're in power. It's not about the conversation only, it's about the art, it's about what you're making, it's about how people are seeing it, it's about people buying it. Because what is important in the art world is that people buy your work. I remember I interviewed Marilyn Mintner, a very well known and famous living photographer, and she said the important thing for artists is to sell their work. That's what she said when I talked to her. And I said, why is that so important? And she said, it's important because when people buy the work, they treat it well, they handle it better, it gets to museums. And she said, and also you get paid, and you need to get paid to make more work. But she said, when you find a way to get paid, things begin to fall into place. So she said, it's not necessarily a simple path where you find one gallery or two galleries. She said, you have to always be thinking, how am I going to sell this work? This work must be sold. Because she said, when work sells, and it's sold, things can change in your artistic life. You gain visibility, you develop a market for your work. So on the back of her words, it's important that work sells. It's important that you are in the market, which means that work sells. And yes, the conversation is important, and being a beautiful artist, making poetic work is very important and good. Anybody, should be making their best work, their most beautiful work. However, essentially, what's important is that you are in the marketplace, that you sell work, that money is put in your pocket, because there isn't an advantage to being a starving artist. There isn't an advantage to being on the sidelines. There is only an advantage to having the power. And you actually have the power. Curators don't have the power. Gallerists don't have the power. They're looking for you. They're looking for someone who is making beautiful art, because you're the one with the power. You're the one that knows if you're going to keep making this work. You're the one that knows how serious you are about this. And you're the one that knows, frankly, how beautiful your work is, right? You don't need 10 people to tell you that painting or that photograph or that sculpture or that video is better than the last one you made or something else. You know if the work's better. So again, you have the power in this situation. The starving artist myth is something that should be slowly and hopefully quickly discarded, and with the understanding that you are in the power seat. You are the decision maker. You're the one that decides when your work goes to market or not, and how it goes to market, and how you sell it, and what the prices are. So I just wanted to share that today, and kind of set a counterpoint to this idea of the starving artist myth of art being about, and art schooling being about, the conversation and not the market, because both are very important. And nobody should be struggling so much as an artist. We should be finding ways to get the work out into the world and sold, because that's how it will be cared for, and that's how everyone will gain visibility for their art. Thanks for listening today. If you have any comments, I'm always interested, or questions, I'm happy to answer them.